Something happens in serious practice over time, and you arrive at a level of depth that often feels like home, and the system has settled into it. And the body knows this place. There's a quality of quiet that took years to find, and you have come to trust it. And something in that is absolutely real. But there's also something else happening that is much harder to see from the inside. The system has not only deepened, it has also organized itself around that level. It has learned to arrive there. It's learned to hold itself there. And so then what feels like depth, that familiar, reliable quality of opening, has also become in part the ceiling. The system gets very good at returning to the level it has always reached. And this is one of the things that I've observed across many years of working directly with people who have done serious practice. And they come with real depth and real sensitivity and real evidence of genuine change. And underneath all of it, something is still running exactly as it always has. And they find that the body is still holding in the same places, the pattern's still present beneath the practice, quieter perhaps, more familiar, sometimes mistaken for simply how things are. The baseline has moved and it has settled again. And the practice works within that settled place rather than beneath it. So this is then the ceiling, and it is structural. So then, what moves it? And I want to speak about something that revealed itself over the years, and it has changed how I teach and why this pathway is structured the way it is. Working on another person's system reaches something that working on your own system alone does not reach. And I want to be precise about why. Because it's not what most people expect. When two biological systems come into contact, something begins that has nothing to do with what either person intends. So before a word is spoken, before any technique is applied, before either person has made a single conscious decision about the other, the systems are already in conversation. And it moves the way two living things move when they first encounter each other. And so one system extends something into the space between them. And there's a quality of presence, a frequency. The other system then registers it. Something in it responds. It opens slightly or organizes itself more precisely or pulls back from a particular area while remaining available in another. And that response travels back as information. The first system reads it, it adjusts, it offers differently, it tests from a different direction. The second system reads that adjustment and responds again. So it's advance, register, withdraw slightly, offer again, test, read what comes back. This exchange is happening continuously, moment to moment, simultaneously across every layer of both systems. In the body, in the energetic system, in the field, the spatial environment that extends beyond the physical boundary of each person into the shared space between them. It is closer to a chess game than to anything else I can offer as comparison, but chess is sequential and visible. This happens across every layer simultaneously, each moment arriving and being answered before the previous exchange has completed. And for most people, almost none of it reaches the surface. It runs beneath the words, beneath the expressions, beneath whatever either person believes is happening between them. And this isn't something rare or extraordinary. This is what two systems do when they meet. This is the actual mechanism of contact between living things. The system reading its environment, reading what is near, reading what is safe and what requires care, what is being offered and what is being withheld. It has been happening in every interaction you have ever had. And here is what I've watched again and again across many years of my work. Most people are receiving almost none of it. And I want to be really precise about this because most serious practitioners believe they can hear this conversation. They have developed real sensitivity. They can feel things most people cannot. They have worked on themselves long enough that something in the quality of contact with others has genuinely changed. And they are right. They are hearing something real. But beneath the level they can perceive, beneath the current ceiling of their own sensitivity, there is a city, a forest, an entire world of information the other system is offering that is not reaching them. And it's not because it isn't being transmitted, it is being transmitted completely. Every layer of the person's system is present in the space between them. It's available, offering the full exchange. But it cannot land because the noise floor in their own system is still too high to receive it. And this is the part that is genuinely difficult to understand from inside it, because you have no reference point for what you cannot yet hear. What arrives feels like contact. It feels like genuine sensitivity, and it is, relative to where you were before the years of practice. But it is the surface of a conversation that go to depth you have not yet encountered. The city was always there. The forest was always there. The noise has simply been too loud to hear it. And so the noise within you is structural. It lives in the body, in the energetic system, in the layers of holding the system has built over years and decades. The accumulated charge of everything that has moved through the system and been stored rather than cleared. The patterns that have become so habitual, they have stopped registering as patterns. And so the low-level vigilance, the continuous management, the bracing that has been running so long, it feels like simply how being alive feels. And so you don't see it anymore. You don't feel it anymore. And this is why it takes time. It takes real time. This clearing happens in layers. Each layer that releases raises the sensitivity. And each time the sensitivity raises, what was previously inaudible becomes audible. And so the practitioner begins to hear something that was always there, but was beneath the threshold of what their noise floor would allow through. And the first time this happens, the first time a layer clears enough that the conversation between two systems becomes genuinely audible at a depth that was previously silent, there is often something close to complete and utter disbelief. Because what the other system is actually carrying is so much more than what was arriving before. The person across from you has an entire world beneath the surface of what they present, held in the body, in the energetic system, in the field around them. A history of what the system has moved through and how it has organized itself in response. The full exchange of that biological conversation, the advancing and withdrawing, the testing and opening, the places where something is genuinely available and the places where something is held and waiting, all of it present, all of it transmitting. And now it is arriving. And what was previously a glimpse, the occasional moment of striking clarity or knowing something about a person before they have said it, or feeling a shift in the room before anything visible has changed, becomes continuous. It becomes available. It is simply how the system meets another system. And in your own practice, however deep it goes, you are always alone with your own system. So the relational dimension, what your system does in contact, how it advances and withdraws and tests, what it offers, what it withholds, what it carries into the space between two people, this entire territory stays largely untouched in solitary work. And when you begin working with another person, something is asked of your system that solitary work has never asked of it. It asks to become as empty as possible in contact. So to step back so completely from its own movements and its own assessments that what is happening in another system can arrive without distortion. And that's not a partial arrival. It's not an arrival filtered through your own unresolved holding. It's actual arrival. And in that requirement, in that discipline of genuine emptiness in relationship, things shift in your own system that the personal practice had not reached. Because the system is being asked to do something it has never been required to do, and that is to get out of its own way completely in the presence of another living system that is simultaneously reading it and responding to it. What people discover when this begins to open is consistently striking. The system has been doing things in relationship that years of personal practice had never shown. So there's been a bracing that arises automatically when it meets a particular quality in another person, a protection running in every interaction, invisible, until there was a direct enough context to surface it. A way the system has been managing the space between itself and others, so habitual it had stopped registering as management. And these are structural patterns. They live in contact. They cannot be found on a cushion or a yoga mat or when you're in the forest or when you're at the beach or by yourself, because those environments, those situations never activates them. And on the receiving end, when another system that has cleared enough of its own noise comes to yours with genuine emptiness and genuine attention, something opens that the system cannot give itself. And it's like a trapdoor. And it has a level that had no name before. A depth the system had no idea was there because it had never been met at that level. You have been in your practice. You have arrived at what you know as depth. And then another system meets yours with so little between you, so little noise, so little agenda, so little of anything other than genuine presence, genuine stillness, that something in your system that has been held quietly for a very long time finally finds the conditions it has been waiting for. And it tests over and over again, and it may withdraw, and it may go forward, and it may test again, and then it may release. And the depth that opens is different from anything the personal practice produced. It has a different quality, a different ground, something that was structural, that was the shape of the holding itself has changed. And so the system settles somewhere it has genuinely never been. And then the practice continues. And then it happens again. Another quality of meeting. Another layer finds the conditions it needs. Another trapdoor opens. And so this keeps happening. There is always more depth available when the conditions of genuine meeting are present. So the personal practice builds the capacity, and it's so important. That is the number one thing. But then the contact reveals what that capacity makes possible. And so over time, as the noise clears and the sensitivity deepens, something else then becomes visible. You begin to feel the same structural patterns appearing across different systems. They're expressed differently, they're shaped by different histories and different lives, but they're carrying a similar quality. There's a particular way a system has organized itself around something it has been carrying for a long time. And it's a holding that's so structural, it has stopped feeling like holding and started feeling like simply how things just are. And recognizing this across different people, feeling it directly as a quality your own system reads without analysis, it changes how you understand it in yourself. And so it stops being personal. It becomes something that systems do, something that happens to any system that has moved through what life requires of it. And that shift changes everything about how you meet it in yourself. There's less story, and you see it for what it actually is. It is structure. That can change. And I want to say something clearly about what this capacity is. This quality of contact, hearing the full conversation between two biological systems, feeling what another system is actually carrying, meeting it with genuine precision at the depth it is actually at, this is meant to be ordinary. The human system was designed for this level of sensitivity. This conversation between systems was always meant to be audible and visible. The full exchange, the advancing and the withdrawing, the testing and the opening, the depth of what another person is carrying beneath the surface of what they present, all of it was always meant to be available as direct felt information. This is what we were built for. What makes it feel extraordinary, what makes these moments of genuine, unfiltered contact feel like rare gifts rather than the normal texture of being alive together, is the noise, the accumulated holding, the structural patterns, the charge the system has been carrying for so long, it no longer registers as something that could be different. And when that clears, so not managed and not reduced temporarily by a practice, but genuinely cleared through structural work that reaches the layer where the noise is generated, this is simply what remains. Every interaction becomes different. Every person you meet is met fully. The full conversation is available. The full exchange is present. The city beneath the noise finally audible. The forest finally visible. And ordinary life, every conversation, every moment with another person, everything that once felt like managing or navigating becomes something else entirely. Something the system was always capable of, finally allowed to arrive. And this is what this pathway is moving toward. The personal practice clears the internal noise, layer by layer, gently, no force. The work with others reveals what the system does in contact and opens what can only open in genuine meeting. And together they reach the layer the ceiling was sitting above. The searching that has been running quietly beneath everything, the persistent sense that something is still somewhere else, still to be found, that starts to quiet. Because the structure generating it has changed. And so then there's nowhere else left to look but to do the work.